Ergonomics is the study and design of equipment and devices that properly fit the human body. It's a big topic, but in this video I'll be talking about computer-related ergonomics. If you're a computer worker like me and you spend your whole day sitting down in a fixed position, you should know that this can lead to all sorts of health problems, like a repetitive strain injury. And trust me, you do not want to get RSI like I did. It's really painful. More info about that and how I recovered in this video. But an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. With some ergonomic fixes and changes in behavior, you can keep on working or gaming or whatever while minimizing the negative health effects. But first, please note that everyone is different. At 6'3", an ergonomic solution for me might not work for someone like Linus, because he's short. Did you know that Linus has to stand on an apple box in some of the videos that we make?
You're fired.
Worth it! So anyway, let's start with the monitor. The top of your monitor should be right around your eye level. The monitor should also be arm's length away from your face, but still large enough so that you don't have to lean forward to see things. If that makes it hard to read text, you can try increasing the text size or UI scale. You can even try using a lower than native display resolution, but that's kind of a terrible solution. You can get special computer viewing glasses, which allow your eyes to more easily focus on your monitor, reducing eye strain. It's the same idea behind reading glasses. Talk to your optician. Some people love these, but I don't. Speaking of eye strain, make sure your monitor isn't too bright or too dark. Your screen should match the brightness of the room you're in. Note that if you're doing color-sensitive work, you'll still want to properly color calibrate your monitor. Also be aware if your monitor has a matte or glossy finish. Glossy monitors can have more vivid colors, but they can be hard to see if there are a lot of bright reflections in the room. Now onto the chair. Most office chairs already have lumbar support, wheels, swivel, and height adjust, all of which is great. You may also want a chair that can lean backwards, especially with tension adjust and lockable angles. By the way, we've reviewed a few adjustable chairs on Linus Tech Tips already. You might prefer to have a headrest, and it's also nice to have fully adjustable armrests. But if they just get in your way, you might want to remove them completely. Now your keyboard and mouse should be at the same height as your elbows when your shoulders are relaxed, with the keyboard tilted slightly away from you. Lots of ergonomic advice tells you to use a rollout keyboard tray which hangs under the desk, which I completely disagree with. I prefer to move the entire desk down to that height, which allows for so much more room. I also like to scoot up as close to my desk as possible so that I can rest my arms on it rather than my armrests. But again, your preferred setup will vary. And speaking of desks, height-adjustable desks are great, especially the ones that can go from sitting to standing height. However, it's important to note the mechanism by which this is accomplished. You should be able to make the transition in, like less than a minute. Also, when it comes to desk space, I feel like bigger really is better. So what about keyboards? Well, there are lots of different ergonomic keyboards, some terrible, some amazing, more like amazingly expensive. I tried the Microsoft Natural Ergonomic keyboard, but then I realized that as a video editor, I need to use my right hand on the mouse and my left hand on the whole keyboard for keyboard shortcuts. But this split design makes that stupidly difficult. A programmer or a writer would have a much better experience. You might also find that typing on a mechanical keyboard is easier than a membrane keyboard, but keep in mind that there are many different kinds of mechanical keyboard switches, as we cover in this video. Also, you might want to consider switching to a Colemak or Dvorak keyboard layout. More info in that video. And finally, the mouse. There seem to be an endless selection of weird-looking ergonomic mice. Some of them are vertically oriented, some of them are at an angle, some of them aren't actually mice. The Trackman Marble has great reviews, but I just hated it. Like, scrolling requires a button toggle? What? This is not good for video editing. Note that some mice and keyboards have macro buttons, which can be wonderful, or they might just get in your way. Wait, what's a macro? Oh look, we already made a video about that. But most importantly, with whatever ergonomic equipment you decide to get, you need to fully test your new equipment in the context of your current setup to make sure it truly works for you. For example, foot pedals plus a standing desk? Probably a bad combination. With anything you buy, be aware of the return policy and save that receipt. Now listen, I know that not all of you or your employers can afford to drop hundreds, perhaps thousands of dollars on fancy new ergonomic equipment, but some solutions can cost little to nothing. Try using boxes as monitor stands. Use books or wood to raise your desk height. Use software like AutoHotkey to turn your numpad or function keys or whatever into macros. You're smart enough to MacGyver up something, right? Get creative. And beyond ergonomics, you can also adjust your behavior. Getting regular exercise is obviously important for good health, but to combat the negative effects of too much sitting, you should take frequent small breaks where you just stand up and move around. The general consensus is to take micro breaks of 30 to 60 seconds every 15-ish minutes, and to take longer 5-minute breaks every hour-ish. Yeah, there's really not much consensus here. There are lots of different options for reminder software which will alert you when it's time for a break.
Hello everyone. In this video we're going to talk about different types of printers. Now printers allow the ability to print copies of documents or photos onto paper from a computer. Now there are several different types of printers, but the most common types that are used in homes and businesses are inkjets and laser printers. And there are also a couple of less common printers, such as thermal printers and dot matrix printers, which we'll talk about later. So let's first talk about inkjet printers. Now inkjet printers are the most common printers that are used in homes. They are affordable and they produce photo quality results. And they are enough to suit the needs of a typical home user. Now an inkjet printer works by the printhead moving back and forth across the paper during printing. And during this process, the printhead places ink on the paper in very tiny dots. In fact, these dots are so tiny that they are smaller in diameter than a human hair. And as these dots are precisely placed, they form to create an image on paper. Now to explain how the ink is placed on paper, here we have an example of an ink cartridge with a built-in printhead. So inside we have the ink, a heating element, and a nozzle. So what happens is that the heating element receives a charge of electricity and it heats up. Then as it heats up, it forms a bubble in the ink. Then as the bubble expands, it squeezes out drops of ink on the printhead nozzle and onto the paper. Then the cycle is repeated until the print job is done. Now this particular type of inkjet technology is called thermal bubble, which is used in HP and Canon printers. Inkjet printers use liquid ink in cartridges. Now typically lower-end inkjet printers come with two cartridges, one for black and the other one for color. But higher-end inkjets come with 4 ink cartridges, such as one for black, cyan, magenta, and a yellow. So now we're going to talk about laser printers. Now laser printers come in different sizes, from smaller personal ones to larger ones for businesses. Laser printers provide the highest quality print when printing text and simple graphics. And they are also more expensive than inkjet printers. Now a laser printer basically works by first placing an electric charge on a rotating drum. Then a laser discharges a lower electrical charge on the drum. So basically the laser draws the image that is going to be printed on the drum itself. Then the drum is coated with a fine black powder known as toner. And as the drum is being coated, the toner only clings to the areas where the laser has drawn. Then, as the paper goes through the printer, the toner is placed on the paper. And the result is a high-quality print that is second to none. And another type of printer is called a thermal printer. Now, thermal printers print by using heat. Thermal printers use special print paper called thermal paper. And on this thermal paper is wax-based ink. And when heat is applied to this ink, it turns black. So in a thermal printer, the only thing the printhead does is apply heat to the areas where ink should be printed. Then when the ink is cooled, it becomes permanent. And because of this technology, thermal printers are very quiet. Thermal printers are commonly used for printing labels and barcodes. And lastly, there's dot matrix printers. Now, dot matrix printers are almost non-existent today. They are an old technology that produced mediocre print quality, especially when compared to laser or inkjet printers. And they are also very noisy. Now, dot matrix printers are impact printers. The printhead in a dot matrix printer moves across the paper, and as it moves, the pins on the printhead strike against a cloth ink ribbon, which then comes in direct contact with the paper, producing each character in the form of dots. But despite being an outdated technology, dot matrix printers can print multi-copy documents such as carbon copies. They are also very durable and they last a long time.